I guess we'll go to this one. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode, edition, issue, situation of Next to the Floor. My name is Harrison. I'll be your host with the most. We're staying hydrated today, and I'm joined by good guy Gary Knox Derry. What's the word? Bird.
What's up? Not much. How are you doing today?
I'm chilling, enjoying a much needed 3-day weekend. I have not amounted to anything today.
Yeah, same. I done exactly nothing today except rest.
It's so nice. I want to do it more. But alas, there is no rest for the wicked. I'm looking at the calendar right now, and we are halfway done with the month of November.
We are like almost done with 2021.
I know. It's a little overwhelming. I'm a little overwhelmed by how quickly time is passing.
Yeah.
But that, I guess, is just the nature of time. Isn't that's how time works? It moves in a straight line, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess the last 2 years would beg to differ. But all that being said, what's new in the world? I know we went out salsa dancing last night. How long did you stay there for?
I don't remember. I just remember drinking a lot.
There you have it.
I don't know. Not too late. I remember going home after everybody. We were the last ones to leave, but not the last ones like
There.
in the
Oh, that's good. That would be embarrassing. Shutting down Havana Club? Oh my god.
No. Although the later you stay, the more space is available.
That is true. I think even kind of around when I left, it was already starting to like not die down, but it was definitely less busy, which was nice.
Yep.
That did absolutely nothing to help. This is the problem with wearing glasses: is you try to clean them and then you end up just smudging them more.
I feel bad on the dance floor though. I was not having it with the people standing on the dance floor as they do at Havana.
Were people just standing on the dance floor?
Yeah, I literally had to tell somebody just like, hey, you can stand over there.
Ooh. I see that though. Yeah, I've said it before, I'll say it again, not my going out salsa bachata dancing, not my cup of tea. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy a lot of the music. It's weird, I knew a lot of the songs that they played last night.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them.
I mean, we do work at a dance.
We do work at a dance studio, but like, so that's nice to know that we're hip.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what I really wanted while I was there? I think this is one of the things that we in the dance community just need to like figure out is how we get over that like only guys can lead thing, because I'm sick and tired of leading people. I'm done. I'm over it. You heard it here first, people. I'm over leading.
You know what? It's fun every now and then when you don't have to worry about what like move you're gonna choose to do next.
Yeah, but when you have to do it for like an entire evening, and then like people come up and ask you to dance, and then like I have to go into teacher mode because they're not very good. Like, there's one girl that I danced with, wicked sweet, sweetheart, wicked sweet. When I tell you, I had no idea what her timing was, what her feet were doing, where she was going. I guess I was just along for the ride.
Yeah, those
It was very suspect.
those are the interesting ones where it's just like, oh, like okay, all right,
I
and you're
guess we're
doing
doing
this now.
all right. I mean, live your best life, find your happiness, do what you got to do. But don't ask. I guess that's my qualm. Don't ask me to lead if you're not going to let me do my job. Vice versa. If I'm going to ask you to lead, or if I'm going to request to follow, I'm going to allow you to do your job. Tell me where to go, and I will go there. Anywho, so that's salsa dancing. That's for everybody who wanted to know a little bit more about, my feelings about social dancing. Are there other styles of dance that I would totally go out and do dancing for? Yeah, absolutely. But
What are some of those?
oh, what are some of them? Oh, wow. Well, I'm so glad you asked. Um, I'd probably go out and dance. Well, so I think this is the thing. Because we do social dancing so much all the time, like as a job, I don't know that I would like say, let's go out social dancing, right? I would say, let's go out dancing. And then if we happen to like partner dance as we're out, yeah, sure, cool, great, whatevs. But I don't know if I'm gonna like,
Show up to a function where there is partner dancing.
like if somebody had asked me, hey, let's go out salsa dancing. My immediate response is no, because that's going to be boring. I know like 4 moves, and I'm going to do those same 4 moves over and over and over, and I'm going to be over it very quickly. Is that me? That buzzing? Oh. Something's buzzing in our house. I think we're going to explode at some point.
For me, it's just like when you're like dancing with the follow, and they're not getting for loops, for example. No matter how great you try to like loop your follow, if they don't really understand loops, that shuts off a lot.
It shuts down a whole boatload of things, and it's a little bit frustrating for me. And that's truthfully that's why when I go, if I'm going to do the social dancing, that's why I really will only ever go with people that I know how to dance, because I'm not trying to be in teacher mode on my time off.
I feel that.
And then also, everything's fine. I'm throwing things. Um, um, the hard thing about being a dance instructor in this here city is inevitably we're gonna run into our clients and students while we're out and about. And it's not that I can't say like, hey, hello, hi, how are you, whatever. But then I'm like, oh god, they can see me they can see what I look like outside of my professional wear. It's like running into one of your teachers at the grocery store when they're just like dressed like a normal human. Yeah. It's like seeing Tina Fey in Mean Girls.
I don't know. I don't look too differently from what I wear at the studio than what I wear.
Well, see, that's the thing. I know you don't, because you're a button-down and skinny pants kind of person all day, every day. I, however, am not.
I feel that.
Yeah. So, real life Harrison is a very different person than in studio Harrison. And I like to keep those lines very separate. And so when people see me out and about in the real world, I'm like, oh God. They can see what I look like. But oh well. They know that I exist. I just want to be, yes, that's a good word. Elusive. Not elusive. I just want the image that people have of me in the studio to be on a pedestal and just stay there.
Like that's their only image.
That's the
Like, oh,
only thing they exactly.
and the weirdest part is when they come in the next day and they're like, "I saw you," and then they're like, "Saw who?" That was me.
And yeah, I know. And then I have to be like, no, you didn't. That wasn't me. I don't know who you were talking about. Who did you see? Huh? ¿Quién es? No hablo. Who
I
is
don't remember
this?
being there.
Yeah, I don't. Sorry, don't recall. Who is this Harrison that you say you saw? Because I don't think it was me. But anywho, let's get into the meat and potatoes of today. So last time you asked me a whole boatload of questions about a whole boatload of things, and I was like, okay, that's cool. That was a fun little conversation, and so I figured I would turn the turntables and see how they turn, and ask you a couple of questions about things and stuff.
Things and stuff. Okay, what's
Yes,
the topic?
and if it inevitably comes back around to me talking about myself again, it's fairly par for the course. But the topic is, well, let me give you a little. Well, actually, let me tell you what the topic is, and I'll give you a little bit of context. So, the topic is Black excellence and what it means to you, Gary Noxberry, good guy Gary. Check out his Instagram, _good_guy_guy. Oh, it's my headphones. That's what that buzzing was. It happened again. My headphones are about to die. That's why I gotta plug these bad boys in. So, the reason why this is the topic is because, we were out last night, and I was talking to Bjorn, who's doing well. Check out therockdance.com. I should put a link in the description. I could do that. The Rock Dance. And he had mentioned, he was like, you know what, I just realized that the entire male staff in Boston, and especially with our new hire, is all black men. And I was like, oh my gosh, I know, that's really exciting. And then we got into the conversation of, claiming our space in the ballroom world and blah, 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 blah. It was a very quick conversation. We didn't go too in depth with it because another song came on and he wanted to go dance with Danielle. But that got me thinking about, what it means to be black in the ballroom world and the whole idea of black excellence and how we have to kind of go above and beyond to prove ourselves. And then I also got really inspired because I want our staff in particular, because we are a group of all black men, to do really, really well in the business and industry and yada, 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 yada. So, black excellence. What is your take on what does that phrase mean to you, Gary Noxberry?
Good question. Black excellence. I mean, everybody, like, I guess everybody knows what, like, black excellence is. I mean, but what does it mean to me? It means, like, I can give you examples of what black excellence means to me. Like,
Putting you on the spot.
I know, right? And I'm like, every single time I'm put on the spot, I'm like, oh man, I can't remember anything, you know? But I would have to say all the like black athletes that inspired me, like when I was young, when I was like growing up playing sports, there were great examples of like black excellence and black inventors as well. I mean, like, well, why don't everybody Google who invented the stoplight? You know, pretty sure, is, you know, person of color. Go ahead and Google that.
I'm doing that right now. I'm Ooh, here you go. For those of you at home who are interested in a little bit of Jeopardy trivia, the inventor of the stoplight, remember this one because it's going to show up as a final Jeopardy question, inevitably in the month of February, is Garrett Morgan. Oh, sorry, Garrett Augustus Morgan Sr.
There you go.
Oh, and a smoke hood notably used in a 1916 tunnel construction disaster rescue. That's cool. I didn't know that. I don't know what that means, but that's cool. So yeah, Garrett Morgan. Things we take for granted on a daily basis. So the reason why, and the reason why I ask you that question in the beginning, I'm going to pose another question to you here. Because I was reading this really interesting article on Forbes. But do you feel that, I guess to quote more or less the title of the article, but do you feel that like our obsession with this idea or concept of Black excellence is harming Black people or harming the Black community? Ooh, there's a good question.
I don't necessarily think so, because what definition of Black excellence, right? Basically someone that Black who portrays great qualities and abilities that make the Black community proud, so that's meant to uplift the community, and so I don't see anything wrong with that or potentially harmful,
Mm-hmm.
What, more confidence in your community,
True. And I asked that question because this article, and I will also do my due diligence and link the article in the description. But the article talks a lot about kind of the optics of Black excellence and how, especially now, where the level of Black excellence is definitely a lot higher and it's a lot more visible, but a lot of the names and images associated with Black excellence are the extreme outliers of excellence. So we have the likes of Simone Biles, the Williams sisters, Barack Obama, who have all achieved the height of excellence in their particular field, right? And so then every action that we as just the average everyday Black people do are now being measured by their level of excellence. And is that as constructive as we want it to be? And it's not from a it's not looking from within the community perspective, right? I think within the community, it for certain is a confidence booster. It is a way to uplift the Black community by saying hey, we too can achieve all of these great and amazing things. But then what ends up happening is other communities look at that as, okay, this is now what you have to, this is the standard for success. So yeah. Would you like to join us on the podcast tonight? My husband's got a lot to say. He said, so that think of the Pete Davidsons of the world can slide through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So does, I guess that leads to the next question that I'll ask you about is, do you feel that will we ever get to a stage where we as black people or people of color ever get to just be like average. Or we're like, I guess, not necessarily, well, yeah, I guess average is a good word, but will we ever get to a spot where we get to just be like average people who don't have to achieve extreme levels of success in order to be recognized as worthy, successful?
Not if we like remain a minority.
Mm. Well, that, I think that also begs the question though, because isn't at least within the United States, I know demographics are shifting so much that we are no longer I guess we are a majority minority company. Listen to me, majority minority country, and that the number of minority groups outnumbers the overall population of white America. I mean, that still means that within those that majority minority, that each of those minority groups are still the minority. But
I think that's Hispanic to white, not black to white.
hold on, let me majority minority. We're doing a little bit of majority. Okay, so yeah, so non-Hispanic. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, so non-Hispanic white is 63.7% of the United States. So I guess it's still a majority. I should do all of my research before I ask these questions. But I guess that, in thinking about kind of going back to that question of what would it mean to the community, or what does it mean? How do we get to that spot where we can literally just be average people?
I mean, I don't think we ever will, because I think because we have to like strive for like black excellence for the community to like recognize that we are normal, and sometimes like above normal, like individuals in the community, who end up giving back way more to the community, like than anybody actually ever thinks. But like, because I feel like because of the past, and because of what's happening now, like this, that would be rough.
Yeah, I for sure think that it's going to be a very big uphill climb and uphill battle, right? Because a lot of systems that are in place don't allow there to be comfortably that level of excellence, like widespread excellence. You think of like the number of just kind of like average, literally just like average white guys that get celebrated on a day-to-day basis.
Tom Brady. I love how I love how they say. I'm sorry, but I love how everybody's just like, oh, he's like the GOAT. He's like, this is what peak athleticism looks like. And then we look at like a picture of like Tom Brady and then a picture of like Cam Newton. And I'm like,
Gagged.
The GOAT of what?
Right. Oh, not the goat of cheese.
Bread.
Yes. I mean, Gary Noxterry spitting facts. Spitting facts. Where's my thing that says the mo you know? There it is. The mo you know. Gary might not have a job on Monday. After that, the Bostonian mob is going to come after you. Actually, no. People around here don't like Tom Brady anymore.
Yeah.
right? Because he's on another team. I follow football a lot.
That's cool. Yeah, no, he was traded or he
Yeah,
I don't
isn't
know.
he playing Florida now? Oh, Tampa Bay. See, look at me, keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up with them. Speaking of problematic football players, um, such as Tom Brady, who was a big Trump supporter. Ugh, bomb. But how about all of this? Sorry, I need to like rearrange this here plant because it stays grown in my space. Ma'am, please.
Did you get your tattoo yet? Or are you just still
I'm
playing around
still
with it?
still playing around with things. I have one right there. You gotta get a close up where it's dice. It's pretty cool. But Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers. For some reason, okay, so I knew of Aaron Rodgers on the Green Bay Packers before this whole deal with him being like anti-vax and saying all sorts of like stupid ass shit. Excuse my language. Because apparently, like all of the girls in the entire world are like madly in love with him because he's hot or whatever. And then I literally just looked at a couple of photos of him after I found out like what his whole deal was, and only to realize that he's just a average white guy with a beard and a mustache, and he's not even really that good looking.
He's not even that good looking.
So this is, I think this circles back to my point, is when do we as black people get to be average? Like how do we get to be average without having to look like Tyson Beckford or Michael B. Jordan or Usher before, before the world's like, oh, he's the sexiest man alive? When does that get to happen? Think on that. But anywho, so if y'all haven't been keeping up with this whole situation, not to change subject, but Aaron Rodgers defying COVID protocols for the NFL by saying that he's not getting vaccinated or whatever, and he did his own research, which, for if anybody is looking for red flags, there's one. That phrase, oh, I did my own research, which basically means, and he said this out loud, that he spoke to his good friend Joe Rogan, which sound every single alarm ever. If you're getting your vaccine information and research from Joe Rogan, best of luck. He recently came out and said he has COVID or whatever, and he's on this, that, and the other thing, and taking ivermectin actively, which
Wait, you said Joe Rogan has?
no, Aaron Rodgers,
Oh.
average white football player on the Green Bay Packers. I know. Stop backseat talking. Either be over here and talk or don't. But yeah, so he's on ivermectin, which we all know is an animal deworming drug. I know that conspiracy theorists claim is a good cure or preventative for COVID-19, which it's not.
Sure.
And rather than, just doing the adult thing and just getting yourself vaccinated so you don't have to deal with any of this, he wants to be his own. He wants to be his own man and doesn't want the government telling him what to do or whatever.
Is that an experimental drug?
No, it's an actual like it's an actual FDA approved drug for like horse deworming.
I don't know why they'll take that crap, but like not a vaccine.
Because it's got a microchip in it or whatever, it's going to magnetize you, or because Joe Biden said that you should do it. So I would rather chop off my nose to spite my face. Blah 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 blah. It's a load of just like BS, and it irks the hell out of me. But people be stupid. People just be stupid. And the wild thing, and I hate to get back into COVID because as much as I want to move on, it's still here and present. Who would have thought that we'd be living through our very own global pandemic? But I forgot I just got so angry. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, the number of people who are like, you won't catch me, getting this vaccine, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what's in it. But completely forget that, to go to the public school that they went to, or to travel to this foreign country that they've gone to, or to go to their college that they probably attended, that they were required to have a whole boatload of vaccines. I mean, we didn't just eradicate polio by pretending it didn't exist. We didn't eradicate smallpox by pretending it didn't exist. I mean, there are perfect examples of people saying like that they wish that they had gotten vaccinated or had their loved ones get vaccinated, and not just in the COVID-19 sense. And one of the most famous examples is Benjamin Franklin, who was a staunch anti-vax. Staunch. For one of our founding fathers, one of the most staunch anti-vax people, when the government came out and said like, hey, we need everybody to get vaccinated against smallpox, it's tearing through communities and killing people, he was like, no, you won't, you're not going to make, we like literally just fought a war over like this form of tyranny or whatever. His son ends up getting smallpox and dies a horrible, horrible, painful, miserable death. And he comes out and writes an entire article, I forget for which newspaper, like basically lambasting himself, saying like, I can't believe like I did a very selfish thing, and as a result of it, I no longer have my son because he died of smallpox. Do what you can, get your families vaccinated, yada 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 yada. So it's always, hindsight's always 20/20.
It's crazy how like there's many examples of this like in the past, but some people
Even in the last year, all of these people who are so against getting the vaccine because it's government overreach, blah 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 blah, like ignoring the fact that infinite numbers of aspects of your life are already controlled by the government, so like get over it. Two, you've already probably had every other vaccine, and yet you've had no lifelong or continued issues or problems with it. Yeah, you have like the one-off cases, but that's just like the nature of medical science. It's still relatively new, all things considered. What did I find out recently? That there was a I think it's insulin, that up until like 2014 or something, that doctors and scientists didn't actually know how didn't know how anesthesia worked. On a completely unrelated topic, but it related because medical science is still all very new. But I think up until it was either 2014 or 2015, that scientists and doctors didn't actually had no idea how anesthesia worked.
They were just giving this.
They were anesthetizing people and just like saying, all right, Excellent. Good. Let's move on.
Let's get started.
Yeah,
All right.
with no idea of how it actually worked.
Wow.
Wild times. But you know, but that's, and for what it's worth, I think there's a lot of the skepticism that comes into understanding or dealing with vaccinations and things surrounding medical science. I mean, is there some validity to it? Absolutely, because as I just said, right, like the field of medical science is still relatively new. It wasn't until God, who was the nurse who basically told people like, hey, you need to clean your hands, like you need to wash your hands, that's why all of your patients are dying. um she's very famous. No, I think French and or American Revolution. It'll come to me. Here's your Jeopardy trivia question for the day. Who was the nurse who basically, like, I don't want to say like pioneered the idea of cleanliness in medical hospitals, but basically pioneered the idea of my it's the name Sarah Pladenthal keeps coming up in my head, but that's not it because that's a book. Florence Nightingale. Was that a person? Yes, I think was it Florence Nightingale. I don't know. Someone in the chat, let us know. But basically, moral of the story: medical science is all still very new. There's still a lot about like the human body and its interactions with various things that are a mystery. And so, like a lot of that skepticism is, would I say it's well founded? Probably not, but is it understandable? Yes, all things considered. But you know, but that's the beauty of science, right? Is that it's constantly growing and improving itself and testing itself and changing, not changing its mind or changing its tune, but it's changing its mind and tune based off of new evidence to support other ideas and theories, which for a lot of people is hard to understand, which is, again, it's probably a conversation we had many moons ago, but why we shouldn't just get rid of things like, you know, science and math in schools, because that's where you should operative word, should be learning your critical thinking skills, etc., etc. Oh, it was Florence Nightingale? Oh, dab on him. Hey. I remember that specifically because it was a, not only it was a Jeopardy final question, final answer, whatever, a couple weeks ago, but then there was also a drunk history episode about it. And yeah, there was a drunk history about it, and is it the Daily Show? Which one is Trevor Noah? The Daily Show. Yeah, they did a little mini segment where they talked about famous scientists through history who made huge discoveries that nobody had time or care for. So, like, I think Florence Nightingale was one of them where, yeah, where they basically, she was like, hey, you know, here's this idea concept. Maybe if you wash your hands in between, you know, performing all of these surgeries, you wouldn't lose as many patients. And like the entire like medical community went fully up in arms about it, saying like, no, how dare you? Who is this woman to tell us what to do? We're never going to clean our hands, blah, 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 blah. And then eventually people came around to washing their hands and realized, oh, their patients weren't actually dying and everything was cool. So there's that little piece of trivia and information for you all. I know that was a very sidetracked thing. We started on talking about Black excellence, and now here we are talking about Florence Nightingale. So, really, this episode should be not so much, or not this episode. This podcast is not so much next to the floor as it is like, what's the next thought that's going to pop up in Harrison's brain?
I think that's entertaining, but but I still can't believe people would just like were probably just like, no, you can't make me wash my hands. This is you're wrong. Like my freedoms.
But I mean, here's history and time being a never-ending circle where we run through the same exact thing over and over and over. I mean, look at conversations surrounding like, you know, communism or socialism or all of those buzzwords. Oh no, not even communism, socialism. Like the buzzwords of like PC culture, woke culture, blah 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 blah. So like in the what did I see? It was like in the 1970s, it was like all you peace loving hippies, right? You pinko commies, right? Because people who were protesting the war, they were like, oh, they were being so peace loving, blah 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 blah. And then in the 80s and early 90s, it was like PC. There was this war against being PC. And then, you know, now there's an entire war against being woke. And like that's a huge problem for people. Like there's always going to be a pushback against something. People are just very difficult to change. Once they're set in their ways, they're hard to change. And that's, again, why we should keep advocating for teaching science and mathematics in high school, because it teaches you critical and deductive reasoning skills, which so many people lack.
Have you ever had somebody come up to you and like we'll start a conversation with you and then like proceed to like explain to you how they don't believe in science?
Yeah. Yes, in fact I have. To the point where I have to like cut them off and say, okay, well, I think this conversation's done. Because I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Like, I've got to go be successful somewhere.
You're not gonna waste my time with this ridiculous conversation.
For real. But anyway, circling back to the topic of, see, this is why this conversation of Black excellence is so good, right? I think to speak to your point where it's going to, if it ever happens, it will take a while, right? Because as we just described, like people in communities are very, very set in their ways. As you can see, there's already there's been a lot of like blowback and pushback against shocking, I know, against like the Black Lives Matter movement. We haven't even gotten into this Kyle Rittenhouse case. I don't even know if we have time for that. That's a whole nother episode.
We're actually coming to the end, but like, yeah, I want to talk about that next episode. I think the verdict will be.
It's supposed to come out tomorrow. I mean, we all already know what's going to happen. It's, you know, shocking to, no, unfortunate to say, shocking to absolutely nobody.
Isn't that ridiculous? Oh, it's so ridiculous.
I mean, I wish I could. I think the harsh reality of this whole situation is that, you know, we're all so numb to the reality, right? Like, yes, it's ridiculous. Like it's the definition. If you were to go into the dictionary and look up the word ridiculous, like the inevitable outcome of this trial would be pictured right next to it as an example of ridiculousness. But, you know, that's just the nature of things. Where did I see, speaking of struggles of the Black community, there was a January 6th insurrectionist who is filing a suit against whatever prison he was in because he's saying that they were forcing him to learn about critical race theory while in prison on the tablet that they provided him. He was forced to learn about critical race theory. So, yeah. So there's that idea. There's that concept thrown out there that you're being forced to learn. So this man is telling me, what he's telling us is that he was forced to take college level law classes. Because my other favorite. Go ahead.
So you can enjoy that tablet.
Right. My other favorite thing, since we're here on this topic of critical race theory, who was it? I think it was John. Is it John Klepper? I can't remember what his name is, but from the Daily Show. Klepper. Doesn't matter. He went to a school board meeting where, inevitably all of these white parents were up in arms because they're afraid their kids are going to be learning critical race theory, which they're not, because that's not a thing that ever happens. And I can say this as a former high school teacher, that's not a thing that ever happens. Like, first and foremost, that material is very, very dense. Second, knowing the American high school history curriculum as it stands, there's no chance in hell that they're ever going to be able to touch anything along those lines. I mean, we're still teaching kids that Christopher Columbus discovered America. I think your kids are going to be okay. When we all know for a fact that he didn't discover shit. He got lost and managed to wash up on a shore, spreading smallpox and killing mad people. Like, let's talk genocide. But I think you're going to be okay. I don't believe in... Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, you also don't believe in birds, but that's a whole nother conversation. Jordan Klepper, thank you. So, anyway, he goes and talks to this older guy. Quite literally this older guy. He had to have been in his 70s or 80s, and he was there saying he doesn't want his grandkids learning critical race theory, so that's why he's there to protest the school board meeting. And so then Jordan Klepper asks him, I totally understand your concern. What is critical race theory? And the guy quite literally had no answer. He was like, I actually have... He says it out loud. He says, truthfully, I don't really know. But I don't want my kids learning it. Well, my grandkids learning it. So that's fun. But then, that makes a lot of sense, and comes back to this whole circles back to an older conversation we had about the boomer generation, and how detached they are from actual social, political, economic understanding of anything. There was a video. I see all of these random things, so many really insightful things. There was I think an article that went out on Bloomberg about the disconnect, or maybe it was Teen Vogue. It was probably Teen Vogue. Comrade Teen Vogue for the win. They did a little mini social experiment sort of deal where they showed all of these septa or octogenarians, that is people who are in their 70s or 80s, photos of houses that were on the market, and asked them how much they thought those houses were selling for. And every single person, first of all of the houses were selling for upwards of $500,000 or $600,000. Every single person that they interviewed for this article or for this social experiment or whatever had said that the houses that they were looking at were worth probably like $40,000. Like grossly underestimating how much those things cost. Which, I think speaks volumes to who we have currently elected in our government. But what do I know?
Huh? That's crazy.
I mean, if I could buy a house for $30,000 or $40,000, awesome. Sign me up. Let me know.
I'd just be lucky with a house in general.
Period. As a concept, that'd be nice. I mean, I was telling y'all, like, at the studio, there's a house here in Melrose where I live that burnt down. I think over the summer. That is just went off the market. Like the house burnt down, and then the owners decided to sell it. And sold for $350,000. So y'all are gonna have to miss me with that $40,000. So like if I saw a house that was $35,000 or $40,000, I'd say, what's wrong with it? Like, does it have a foundation?
Does it have a roof?
Right.
It doesn't have any walls, does it?
It's not a wall in sight. Turns out it's a cardboard box on the Upper East Side of a dumpster.
Yeah, we're just really experimenting with this new modern open floor.
Open floor concept, yeah. Get out. Oh my god. Well, I know we kind of derailed and went all over the place with this conversation, but we're actually at the end of this episode, because wouldn't you know it, Gary and I have to go play Dungeons and Dragons with a bunch of nerds. So first and foremost, a huge shout out to all of our Patreons. Thank you so much for supporting us and supporting the stream. You can check us out at patreon.com/next to the floor. That is NEXT 2 the floor. As ever, we love you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks a bunch, because the bananas, for all of your love, support. Send us your ideas for, topics of conversation, things along those lines. If anybody's had any good books that they have read lately, love to get in on that. And I think our next episode comes just after Thanksgiving. So, do you have any Thanksgiving plans, Gary?
Eat food.
Yes. Food and sleep. I think mine's the same thing. So, we'll have to rehash our Thanksgivings on the next episode.
One of these days we should have a Friendsgiving.
We should have a Friendsgiving. I do a Friendsgiving every year. I'll see if you can come to this one.
Yay.
Well, ladies, gents, Romans, countrymen, thank you so much for joining, watching, listening to our rants and ravings and ramblings about many things. Remember, Florence Nightingale told you to wash your hands. If you do your own research, make sure that it's like actual research that you're doing and not listening to people like Joe Rogan or other, people who lack any semblance of a concept of nuance in any aspect of their life or understanding of things. And remember, it's completely free. It costs you $0 to be a good person.
Absolutely zero.
Free. It's free. And with that, make sure you follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/next to the floor. Follow us on Twitch, right here, twitch.tv/HeyJ. Follow Gary on Instagram, Gary point upwards. There you go, at _good_guy_Gary. And follow us on YouTube, next to the floor. Check out our Patreon. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Gary, you got to put your hand over your camera like this. Bye. Like over it so that it blocks out your camera. Yeah, I know. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Can I bring a dish to Friendsgiving?
You can bring a dish to Friendsgiving. We just said bye and you're still talking to these people.
But bye now.
Bye. It's kind of like the end of movie credits. Mashed potatoes.